Hello, I'm Matteo Convertino. I'm an associate professor at the Tsinghua Shenzhen International Graduate School, and I'm the PI of the Future Ecosystem Lab. I brought my student here today, the student of my class that is called Eco-Hydrology and Biodiversity, to show them what I teach in the class through theory and computer models in order for them to have appreciation of how nature is, because it's very different to see nature and to study it on a book or on a computer.
Building an international mangrove center in Shenzhen is essential to make the city a benchmark for other cities worldwide facing similar problems, according to Convertino.
The International Center for Mangrove Research in Shenzhen is very beneficial for building a community of scientists and stakeholders that are much more sensitive and applied to ecological problems. And on the other side, I think the International Center can put Shenzhen as kind of the example for all the other cities worldwide that face a similar problem. If you think about Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, Manila, all these cities that are in this mangrove triangle in Southeast Asia, they are experiencing similar issues. So if we do very well here, we can export our solution as a science and practice to other places.
Though Shenzhen does not have the largest number of mangroves in China, it's probably the biggest city with a mangrove reserve in the world, according to Convertino. In 1994, Shenzhen changed its original plan of building Binhai Boulevard, which would have passed through the Mangrove Nature Reserve in Shenzhen Bay. Instead, it was moved 200 meters north away from the reserve.
So that decision to make the boulevard farther away from the mangrove was a necessary choice to protect the mangrove ecosystem that later on grew over time. I think in the last 20 years we experienced a growth of the mangrove forest of about 25% with respect to the original area. So that was a great achievement. We should have never cut the mangrove with the street, despite the cost is higher, but on the other side you have ecological benefits that translate into a future that is much more green, much more climate friendly, and also more beautiful, I think.
The city is not just replanting mangroves, but is also monitoring them to see how well everything functions.
Currently, the city of Shenzhen, mostly through the Mangrove Conservation Foundation, recommended by some science-based findings and decisions, are not just replanting, but they are also monitoring the mangrove. Is defined by not just themselves, but also if they have enough fish, enough crabs, enough birds, if they don't have invasive species, such as some snails that can destroy their root system. And so the monitoring part is essential. And as for the Futian Mangrove Reserve, that type of monitoring and restoration is also coordinated with the Maipo mangrove community in Hong Kong. So if you think about the Hong Kong Maipo mangrove community and Futian mangrove community, they're actually connected. They're just separated by the Shenzhen River. And they're not a different ecosystem. It's precisely the same. So whatever intervention we do in Hong Kong, it's also reflected into Futian and vice versa. So if we can share a message that's really one of the messages that we can offer to the world, to work together to consider ecosystem in their own integrity without administrative boundaries, because nature does not feel them.
Convertino gave 3 suggestions for the building of the International Mangrove Center in Shenzhen.
I think the primary suggestion is always people. You need to have the right people working together under the same roof that believe in the same mission. that makes everything much easier. The second suggestion that I may offer is that we must consider mangrove in relation to other iconic species that live in the mangrove community. I mentioned before that mangrove do not exist just by themselves, but you need to have the right balance of species that regulate each other. And probably the last suggestion is to try to consider mangroves not just under an ecological view, but also under a view that considers them as part of the built environment. That's an opportunity, and the landscape planner, city designer can participate in this international mangrove community as well. That doesn't need to be just an ecological center. It can be a urban planning center as well, because we are in Shenzhen, where nature and skyscraper come together.